Beneath the surface of America's history, the FBI has encountered adversaries whose crimes stretched the Bureau's resolve to its absolute limits. These masterminds orchestrated terror, chaos, and violence across the nation, some with the touch of a button, others with brute force. From shadowy cabins to urban jungles, their twisted stories are as complex as the long and arduous investigations that finally brought them to justice. Tonight, we unlock the chilling files of the most dangerous criminals the FBI ever faced. In the late 20th century, a shadow fell over America's technological progress. It arrived in unassuming packages, delivered by mail, but inside lay meticulously crafted instruments of terror. The sender was a ghost, an invisible enemy striking at the heart of modern life, leaving behind only destruction and a chillingly deliberate signature. For 17 years, this reclusive genius haunted America's scientific and academic communities. He was Theodore Kaczynski, a name that would become synonymous with domestic terrorism. But before the bombs, there was the prodigy, a boy who entered Harvard at just 16, earned a PhD in mathematics, and became an assistant professor at UC Berkeley. Then, he vanished. He retreated from the world he saw as a corrupting force, only to re-emerge as the Unabomber, a name coined by the FBI from his targets, universities and airlines. His campaign began in 1978. The bombs were deceptively primitive, often encased in wood and built from scrap metal. Yet they were masterpieces of destructive engineering. Each device was handcrafted with obsessive care, designed to obliterate forensic evidence, and sometimes bearing the initials FC, later believed to stand for Freedom Club. Beyond the physical terror, Kaczynski's motives set him apart. He wasn't seeking money or fame, but a revolution against what he called the industrial technological system. His bombs were a warning, sent in blood and fire. As the tally of victims grew to 3 dead and over 20 injured, so did the nation's fear. The FBI poured unprecedented resources into the hunt, creating the Unabomb Task Force. For years, investigators were stumped. The bomber left no fingerprints, used untraceable materials, and even planted false clues to mislead them. The investigation, costing over $50 million, became the most expensive in FBI history. The break finally came not from a clue, but from the bomber's own hubris. In 1995, Kaczynski demanded that major newspapers publish his 35,000-word manifesto, Industrial Society and Its Future, threatening more violence if they refused. After agonizing debate, the FBI gambled and agreed. The decision proved pivotal. Thousands of miles away, David Kaczynski read the text and felt a horrifying sense of recognition. The ideas and specific turns of phrase echoed letters from his estranged brother, Ted. After consulting with his wife, Linda, David made the heart-wrenching decision to contact the FBI. On April 3, 1996, federal agents swarmed the tiny primitive cabin. Inside, they found not just a recluse, but a bomb factory. A fully assembled bomb was hidden under his bed, ready for its next victim. The arrest ended the manhunt. Kaczynski pleaded guilty to avoid the death penalty and was sentenced to life in a supermax prison, forever silenced. But the questions his violent crusade raised, about genius, alienation, and the dark side of progress continue to linger. Boston, Massachusetts, a city of proud history and academic prestige. But for decades, beneath the cobblestone streets, a dark kingdom flourished. This was a world ruled not by law but by fear, and its phantom kingpin operated in plain sight, shielded by the very people sworn to bring him down. This is the story of James Whitey Bulger, a man who was both Boston's most feared gangster and the FBI's most prized informant. In the gritty alleys of South Boston, one name inspired a chilling mix of loyalty and dread: Whitey Bulger. As leader of the notorious Winter Hill Gang, he orchestrated drug trafficking, bribery, and extortion with brutal efficiency. His reign was absolute, enforced by violence and a code of silence, and he was implicated in at least 19 murders. But Bulger harbored a secret that made him untouchable: an unholy alliance with the FBI. He was a clandestine informant, feeding his handler, John Connolly, selective intel on his rivals, like the Italian Mafia. In exchange, the FBI turned a blind eye to his own criminal empire. This corrupt pact allowed Bulger to eliminate his competition, while his power grew unchecked, making the city's top criminal the government's top secret. The alliance collapsed in late 1994. Tipped off by Connolly about a sweeping indictment, Bulger vanished, sparking a 16-year international manhunt. For a time, he was second only to Osama bin Laden on the FBI's most wanted list. The pursuit crossed continents, but a strategic shift proved decisive. The FBI launched a new media campaign targeting his companion Catherine Greig, highlighting her personal habits. The crucial tip came from a woman in Iceland who recognized Greig from a TV report as her former neighbor in Santa Monica. On June 22, 2011, agents set a trap, luring Bulger from his apartment with a ruse. The aging gangster was arrested without a fight. Inside, they found an arsenal of over 30 firearms, more than $800,000 in cash, and a trove of fake identities. His capture brought justice for victims' families and exposed deep corruption. In 2013, Bulger was convicted on 31 counts, including his role in 11 murders, and sentenced to 2 life sentences. The trial also led to the conviction of his FBI handler John Connolly for racketeering and murder, casting a harsh spotlight on the Bureau. Whitey Bulger's violent life met a violent end in 2018 when he was beaten to death by fellow inmates in federal prison, a final, brutal chapter for Boston's Phantom Kingpin. Few names evoke the gangster era like Al Capone, the ruthless kingpin who dominated Chicago's underworld during Prohibition. Capone's organization controlled speakeasies, liquor shipments, and gambling dens, enriching him while leaving a trail of violence. The infamous St. Valentine's Day massacre, orchestrated under his watch, shocked the nation. Despite widespread murder and racketeering, fear, bribery, and political influence left Capone seemingly untouchable. But in a twist worthy of the movies, it was the less glamorous crime of tax evasion that toppled Capone. The FBI, partnering closely with the IRS, meticulously built a financial case, tracking his lavish spending against reported income. After a fiercely contested trial in 1931, Capone was convicted and sentenced to 11 years in federal prison. The lesson was clear: the Bureau would use every weapon from Tommy guns to ledgers to bring down even the most notorious criminals. On the morning of April 19, 1995, downtown Oklahoma City was bustling with routine activity. Inside the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building, federal employees started their day, and in the second-floor daycare center, children played. But just outside, a fuse was lit on a plot born from radical anti-government hatred. The architect of this horror was Timothy McVeigh, a decorated Gulf War veteran who had become deeply disillusioned with the U.S. government. His anger festered, fueled by the federal standoffs at Ruby Ridge and, most significantly, the deadly siege in Waco, Texas, which had ended exactly 2 years prior. McVeigh saw himself as a soldier in a war against a tyrannical federal power, and he was determined to send a message. He parked a Ryder rental truck, its cargo bay laden with a devastating 5,000-pound bomb made from agricultural fertilizer and racing fuel. At 9:02 a.m., the device detonated. The blast wave ripped through the building's north face, pancaking 9 floors of concrete and steel into a tomb of rubble. The final toll was staggering: 168 lives lost, including 19 children, and over 680 injured. It was a calculated act of mass murder, the deadliest act of domestic terrorism the nation had ever seen. The FBI launched one of the largest investigations in its history, codenamed OK Bomb. Amidst the chaos, a single, crucial piece of evidence emerged: the rear axle of the rental truck, thrown several blocks by the explosion. Miraculously, it retained a legible vehicle identification number. This VIN was the golden thread. It led agents to a body shop in Kansas where an employee remembered the man who rented the truck. A composite sketch was released, and the manhunt went into overdrive. But in a stunning twist of fate, the suspect was already in custody. Just 90 minutes after the bombing, an Oklahoma Highway Patrol trooper had pulled McVeigh over for driving without a license plate and arrested him for carrying a concealed weapon. It wasn't until 2 days later, as he was about to be released on bail, that authorities made the connection. The man in the orange jumpsuit was the most wanted fugitive in America. McVeigh showed no remorse, infamously referring to the children killed as collateral damage. He was convicted and executed by lethal injection in 2001. The bombing left an indelible scar on the American psyche. The Oklahoma City National Memorial and Museum now stands where the Murrah building once did, its field of empty chairs a silent, heartbreaking testament to the lives cut short. The attack forced a national reckoning with domestic terror, leading to new security protocols and a heightened awareness of the violent ideologies that can fester within our own borders. Unabomber, crime boss, underworld emperor, domestic terrorist. Each name conjures a different face of evil, but the stories share a single truth. The peril is real, but justice is relentless. Behind every successful capture lies years of painstaking work, missed leads, sleepless nights, and shattered lives. While the FBI's hunt for America's most dangerous criminals is never easy, their commitment stands as a warning to those who threaten peace, and as a tribute to the countless victims whose stories demand to be told. Unabomber, crime boss, underworld emperor, domestic terrorist. Each name conjures a different face of evil, but the stories share a single truth. The peril is real, but justice is relentless. Behind every successful capture lies years of painstaking work, missed leads, sleepless nights, and shattered lives. While the FBI's hunt for America's most dangerous criminals is never easy, their commitment stands as a warning to those who threaten peace, and as a tribute to the countless victims whose stories demand to be told.